What are we talking about today, John? Actually, it's the
So-
same day. Let's not pretend it's a different day. It's got the same T-shirt on, John. Same day.
Unlike the continuity error in episode 2, where I'm wearing a different shirt, gave up and went home.
We did. I needed to go swimming.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. We're back.
In the last episode, we were talking about our favourite sessions that we've been involved with. Episode before, we were talking about, obviously, leading up to Leaders Vale, or coming up to like where we are now. What I suppose we want to talk about now is where we are at the moment. So, the most logical place for me, I think, would be to talk about the Flipflop records.
Okay.
How did that come about?
Well, I've always had
It's
a
not logical.
passion for helping unsigned artists, developing grassroots music, helping artists get their records out there, however that may be. You know, offering deals. I offer payment packages, interest-free payment plans for bands to pay me off over time. They know they've got festivals booked in next year. Then I do these payment, just any way we can make that record as good as we can and help that band to get it out there. You know, mentoring them, answering their questions, doing all these things. And I've always had kind of small independent labels, basically labels just to enable someone to do the admin work for the band to get the records out there. I mean, it's easier than ever now, but you know, back in the day, it wasn't so easy. So getting distribution, we'd use people like Gene Pool and stuff for the label, because when we used to do a lot of physical copies. And we had Can Records, we had Leaders Music Group working with Sushi Roll PR, basically to help people release. And then I hadn't had a little record for a while, but still helping artists release. And I'm talking artists through that process, helping them get deals in place, publishing in place, do all these things and kind of project manage things for them. Now I'm kind of involved in session recall, and the production things kind of it's not taking a back seat. I'm still doing lots of production, but because I'm based a lot more in Spain, I can't do all my production work in the UK. And we've got too many studios now, John. We keep adding. We weren't supposed to have any now. We've got too many. So we have our own studios, and it was like, why don't we have a proper label, do it with some funding, doing it a bit more on a bigger scale. The book coming out, which we can talk about as well afterwards, and because it's part of future plans, and which is called From Britpop to Flipflop. And from that, just talking with my old mate, Scott from Kit and Pyramid, he said, oh, your label should be called Flipflop Records. It makes sense, you know. So Flipflop Records was born when I was working with Kit and Pyramid at the time, and as I have done for many years. And I thought, you know, I love this band, and especially Scott so much that I'd love to be involved and sign them. But the first signing to Flipflop. So Kit and Pyramid became the first band assigned to the label. There's others that are currently in the process. There's others that we're developing, we're working with. And it was to do a more established label with proper distribution in place and publishing in place. So that's what we're doing. And not just, I mean, it's going to find new talent and stuff, but also working with some established artists as well, hoping to get them on the label. But also, obviously, I have a massive connection with the 90s and that whole Britpop period. So I'm currently been speaking to bands from that period that I work with, and I'm looking at having Flipflop 90s, which is bands from Britpop era, mostly bands that I worked with who no longer have deals, and getting them signed to the label, and that kind of being an arm of the label, which is that kind of 90s nostalgia and all those bands, those great bands that I was working with back then and were involved, to getting them on the label, and then having new music put out as well, but also signing a few catalogue things and kind of established artists as well. But mainly it's to enable all these up-and-coming unsigned artists signing bands that I worked with through the 90s, not only bands I worked with, but a lot of bands, you know, talking to a lot of bands I was involved with about getting them on the label. They no longer have deals. They've been self-releasing, getting them and having a completely separate arm on the label, which would be really cool, I think, which would be 90s nostalgia, part of Britpop. Then there'll be the established artists with the back catalogues, and then the exciting new artists, exciting artists, not just artists I work with. Anyone can come on the label. But it's a great opportunity for bands that I am working with, who I get to see firsthand working with in the studio, and going, these are great musicians, they got great songs, and taking them on, developing them, and eventually getting them on the label. You know, we're in talks with some great new bands at the moment, Jamaica and Germany and Ireland, and kind of putting projects together with them, and we're all working, they're all coming out on Flipflop. So having a bit more structured label with publishing and with proper distribution in place. So that's all still in the process of being set up, but because we wanted to get the Kit and Pyramid record out there, they're kind of ready to go. They're kind of the first artist we signed, and the first one ready to go.
Yeah, because they've they just got was it track of the week?
Yeah.
Not just, by the time this comes out, it will be about a month or so ago.
Yeah. So yeah, first track's a classic rock on the pole there. So that, one of the very first singles we ever put out has been track of the week. It's great, and their tracks are doing really well. And I think Koozie, which we put out, has just hit 50,000 streams. I mean, that video is great as well. I think that got like a million views or something, So yeah, and working with Scott was great. So when that opportunity came up to sign them, I was like, yeah, brilliant, because I just love working with him. And he's great to work with and great to have on the label. Flipflop will grow now, as I say, as we develop that 90s nostalgia kind of arm to it. Hopefully get the deals over the line with these new bands that we're looking at, then Flipflop will be born and will continue to grow.
So that obviously then the next arm then is obviously like I suppose Session Recall. Obviously, so Session Recall, the reason it came about is really from conversations from the two of us, really. We talked about this idea for a while, haven't we? It was years almost, like talking about...
Yeah, having this platform, because we've been doing what we plan to do with Session Recall. We've been doing for bands for years and years. We have been developing them. We have been giving them advice. We have been frustrated by the bands turning up to the studio with the same issues and underprepared and not having not done this or not knowing what to do, or answering email after email after email before they get to the studio. Should we do this? Should we do that? That becoming you putting together a plan for them. And in the end, same with the label, thinking, right, well, we're doing this anyway. Should we have something more structured and a place where these artists can go and find out all these things? We're doing it anyway. We're mentoring, we're talking them through, we're A&Ring, we're developing, we're doing all these things. So why isn't there a label and a platform that we have that has all this information? And we might as well be doing it on a bigger scale, more official, on an actual platform, because we're doing it day in, day out, and we have done for years, and we've talked about it. And now is the time for doing, John. It's the time for doing Session Recall, for doing Flipflop Records, for finishing the book and finally getting out there. But you've had the same thing in your career that we're doing in Session Recall, haven't you?
Well, it was... Yeah, it's something that I think I suppose, like, from my position, I was like, obviously, when I was in bands, I was always doing the videos. I was always doing extra bits and pieces around it. And one of the things that I remember, like, one of the bands, I was in Guildford at ACM. This is around about 2005, 2007. And we were doing YouTube videos at the time. From those videos, we ended up getting like invited to a showcase with Sony Records in Camden. We didn't know anyone there, and all of a sudden people start coming up and talking to us, and you realise, like, shit, that's all people from like Columbia Records, or like this is Arista and stuff, and it's like, oh my god. But then just realising, like, I was doing stuff at the time that was like, this would be useful for other people. So when I ended up setting the studio up on my own, I was going, right, here's what you kind of need to do. Think about getting like the unsigned guide. Look at doing this. Look at doing gig swaps, and like everything that kind of worked for my band. I think it was like, well, this is what would be useful for you guys. And then looking, well, from being in the studio, you think, well, this is how like Thunder do it. This is what Burning Crows did really well. And like thinking, well, we need to do campaigns, like, think about how are we going to raise the money? What happens after the recording stuff as well? One of the biggest issues, I think, is like, okay, all the focus goes onto recording. It's like, that's great. What happens now?
Yeah, there's no focus. There's no focus on what they do afterwards and the budget for what comes afterwards. And it's like, we're going to make this record. We've all made a great record, and everybody has a big part at the end of the session. And then it's like, right, what do we do now, John? What do we do now, Nick? And it's like, we're busy. We're busy, and obviously, if we have to hold hands with everybody we work with that's unsigned through that, but we do, and we take the time and do as much as we can. But there should, to have all that information in one place, because we see it time and time again, and trying to get through to the bands that a lot of emphasis should be put on that part of the process. Don't just see it as making a record. And actually putting a structure in place for them, talking through that with them, mentoring them, have a structure, have a business plan, 18-month business plan. This is what's going to happen. This is how you should do it. And then through the program, then being able to see that through and implement that and learn how to implement it to most cost-effective way, and time management as well. Hopefully that leads into more success for the bands, bigger gigs, more sales, more streams, whatever. They don't have to sit there, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, because we can be on them as part of the program. Have we done this? This is your next step. This is what you've got to do. This is what, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to get all that knowledge across, but also a great opportunity for all these artists, and whether it's hobbyists, bedroom producers, what do they do? What do they need to do for publishing? How do they sell their music? I was going through it yesterday, a conversation. I had to put emails together in very basic terms for these couple of guys who are a bit older, don't know what to do. They've made this fantastic record, actually, and what do we do? to having to put all the bullet points of even how to create a post on social media. And it's like, this should just be there, available. I know they can find it, but they don't want to traipse through Google for hours. Who's the best advice to listen to? They trust us. They want to listen to what we're doing.
And this is probably actually a really good point, because what we've done is we made a PDF free download. If you go to sessionrecall.com/band checklist, that's basically like a starting PDF just to fill out and go, right, this is the information we need. This is the information that will help you to start off. So going like, what's your accounts? Where have you got everything? Have you got your social media accounts set up? Have you got a schedule for recording or like production? Have you got roles within the band? Yeah. So that's something that some people don't even think about. And
contracts within the band, roles.
Yeah. Agreements.
PRS,
so
PPL, MCPS, getting all that registered before you go down that road, just getting it done. And it's daunting. It's daunting if you've never done it and you're not sure and you're not confident with all that kind of side of things, or you just don't want to. You want to just be able to create and make music and don't want to think about that, but you haven't got a label, you haven't got management. So you've got two choices then. Someone in the band has to take on that role, or you find someone to do it. And that's where we can come in again, because we work with lots of teams of people who do that for a living. And we can put you together with the right people for your campaigns to do all that, to take it over for you. And obviously, if you end up on some of the top packages on Session Recall, you get all that included anyway. So, but yeah, great opportunity.
Yeah.
And we're working nicely in conjunction with Flipflop Records as well. A lot of the artists on there are already waiting to sign up to the program. That's going to give great opportunity to kind of work with us and us to mentor them properly and kind of get involved in all the amazing things that will be happening in Session Recall, which we'll talk about. You sign up to be part of the community, but there'll also be tiered packages that you can come onto as well. I mean, and that's stuff we've done for years, isn't it, John? Basically what Session Recall is all about is stuff that we've already been doing throughout our careers for years.
Yeah, being in the studio is something we've been planning, not like I thought about for like maybe 2-3 years now. We had like the idea about it, and it's always been having bands coming in, like thinking about, okay, the whole focus has been so much on recording, which is obviously understandable because we work in studios. It's like, what happens next? Or you go to have you got video, like have you got your promo photo stuff? Have you been taking footage while you've been in the studio? And they're like, oh no, I haven't done that. Or they do the release and they just chuck everything out in one go, and it's like, well, what do you do now?
Yeah.
That's
being able to
gone.
Put them together a structured business plan over the next 18 months. I think what we've noticed is, and where it'll come in as a massive help for us working with the artist and for the artist, is the bit before the studio, getting those songs right, help with the songwriting, the preparation that they can do to maximize their time in the studio and their budget, get the most out of those two things. All those things, that'll be a massive help for them. The songwriting as well. So the songs are in a much better shape. We have to do a lot less on them in the studio. So help with all of that. What can they do before they get to the studio? What happens during the recording process? But then, the big thing is we've made this great product together. We've had a great time in the studio. We've taught, showed you how to get to that point. Now it's, what do you do to make your music go up to the next level and to be able to continue to make records and keep making music? And we're talking so many artists through that, all the artists we're working that are unsigned that we're working with. We're already doing that, and you spend so much time doing it. And because we want to, because I love grassroots music, I love developing artists, I love seeing them get successful.
Love seeing, like, you get really proud when you see them play live. Or like, I remember there's been a couple of times where you watch bands, like you do their demos and stuff and they get signed, or you see them at a festival, you think, banging, slammed it. It's like nailed it, absolutely. Like you mentioned, I don't know if we got it or not, but like you said about sometimes it's really hard to find out, well, what's information is right? Well, where do we go to find this information? There's so many conflicting stories, and one of the benefits I think we've got is that we've seen it when it's worked.
Not just us, we've got amazing mentors on the program from all areas of the music business that they've got chance to kind of speak with and learn from as well. So it's going to be really good. But we can go over those packages when we release our Session Recall What Is It podcast, John.
So you've already mentioned when we talk about the label, you had like the book. You talked a little bit about the book From Britpop to Flipflop. How did you end up? Tell me about it.
From Britpop to Flipflop. So how did that come about?
From Britpop to Flip.
Well, I've always had a love of flip-flops. I've always had a love of Spain. I have always loved flip-flops. I mean, who doesn't? So I've always had a love of Spain. We've been coming here since I was a kid. My parents used to bring me on holiday to Spain. I've always wanted to live in Spain. Always wanted to experience that. Here I am now. This is my studio at my house in Spain. Over there's all my amps and outboard and drums and everything. And so this is where I do a lot of the editing and mixing now, to come to Spain to do all that. Bit of sunshine, we've got the pool outside, it's all great, and it's, you know, love being here. And we've actually got another studio. We've got La Hacienda, which is the residential studio that we can use in Spain. That's just up the road from our house. So yeah, we've got too many studios, as I said before, John. Too many studios now. So yeah, we love being in Spain. I've always loved it. And while I'm in Spain, I'm always in my flip-flops. And so that's just been coming here years, and I kind of ended up in my flip-flops all the time. And from Britpop to flip-flop is basically, I started my career with like Stone Roses, bands like that, then on to Oasis, and that whole Britpop thing really catapulted my career and was the start of my career. And that's when I really came into music. I couldn't have come in at a better time for me, you know, with those bands starting in a studio like Rockfield, which became the home of Britpop, you know, number one after number one after number one record in the charts all through the 90s, being a part of that. So that's when I started. So I came from Britpop. You know, the ultimate goal was to end up with a place in Spain, a studio in Spain, or living in Spain, spending time in Spain. Love the food, love the culture, love the people. So the flip-flops is basically me in Spain. So it's from Britpop to flip-flop. So it's from that period right through to now, where I spend most of my time in Spain in my flip-flops. And I'm pretty much in flip-flops the whole time in the studio as well, even through the winter, walking down the muddy paths of Rockfield with squelchy mud in between my toes because I can't bring myself to put proper shoes on and still in my flip-flops. So that's so when I was researching titles for the book, and obviously there were certain stories that have a kind of ring to it, I thought about, no, this is covering my whole career, the 30 years from then up to the present day. And it is literally from the Britpop period up to today, where we've now got 2 studios in Spain. We're spending a lot of our time here doing productions and mixing and editing. And so it's that whole journey of how I started as a young boy in Rockfield in the Britpop era to today having, to the 2 studios in Spain, and that being and spending my life in flip-flops.
Is there anything in the book that people aren't going to expect?
Yes. Well, I think they'll be surprised when I kind of probably, like, I'm not really, I am dishing dirt, of course, but no, I'm not really, you know, it's a nice mix of kind of fly on the wall kind of stories of recording sessions, crazy stories. Obviously there's the tabloid element to it because some of the stories involve bands like Oasis, and, you know, tabloid kind of people lap up those stories. So it's just because that part of my career and where we were and who we were with. So a lot of those stories are kind of not just of interest to fans of the band and also to everyone in general. It's like, did that really happen? I can't believe that went on. And then there's technical stuff and how albums are made and kind of an insight into certain artists and things like that, and nice stories about people. So it's not always a shock horror, you know, trying to shock people with the stories. It's just things that actually happened to me and I was actually there. A lot of it, when you're writing it, you're like, can't believe, man, people just wouldn't believe that actually happened. And it's crazy. And when I look back at it, I think, holy shit. And like, I got to 40 and my daughter said, and she was only, about 6 at the time, said, oh, Dad, now that you're getting old, you better write these stories down because you'll forget them. That was how it started. I thought, well, maybe she, you know, obviously I'm not that old, I'm bloody 40, but I started thinking, well, I'm telling these stories to bands all the time. They always question me, what happened? What was this like? What was Liam like? What happened then? How did that band do that? Did they record live? What happened when you was with Springsteen in New York? All these things. And they only know those basic stories. They don't know the stuff around the edges and the kind of real stuff that actually went on involving a lot of those stories. So I'm talking about a lot of that stuff. And it's been a kind of a 5-year process now of putting those stories together, a lot of research, getting the dates right, the people right, the places right, kind of a lot of research into each story and deciding which ones to put in, because they all can't go in. There's too many of them. And there's certain ones that can't go in for certain reasons, legal reasons. Like, I'm not going to be breaking up any families. There might be a few people worried about that, but no, I'm not going to be doing that. But it's an interesting insight. And also it was something, it started out as like a diary basically for me to leave my kids. My kids were always asking me about it. And I was like, if something happened to me or whatever, or if when I do get too old to remember these things, then I won't be able to tell them to my kids. So having it there for them when they're older, obviously, they can't read it now at their ages, for them to be able to read and go, oh, that's what my dad got up to for 30 years. Oh, right, okay. My dad involved in that, you know. And there's stuff for all, you know, there's not just Oasis, there's like Michael Jackson stories in there, Ed Sheeran stories in there. And then like Ken the dog, little Kenny Dog Leash, the legendary icon that's our mascot at Leaders Vale Studios there. Hello. He's got a whole chapter because I don't think people. Well, a lot of people do realise
to.
what a legend Ken was, and we call him the bastard.
How many dogs do you know that has producer
Not
credits on
many.
Thunder
No,
albums?
none on Thunder albums apart from Ken. It's like, yeah, he can, the only dog that can get his own dressing room at a Bruce Springsteen concert, so it's like, and his stories are legendary. Yeah, he gets a chapter. So it's quite lighthearted, very funny in places, and also, very informative as well. People are interested in how certain records were made, certain dynamics within a band at certain points. And obviously a lot of the artists are really big artists, but there's loads of stories from bands that people won't ever have heard of. They're personal to me, and it's a collection of my stories, but they're still crazy stories. And people think, holy shit, that was going on in that studio at that time. And obviously I've travelled a lot. I was in bands as well, so there's stories about careers and stuff that went on there. There's tragedy in there as well. There's some really sad moments to the book as well. But it's just a basic snapshot of my 30 years in the business. Yeah, so I don't forget it. Yeah. So busy time, John. So I'll have the book, obviously the book coming out, Session Recall launching, the label's launching. So yeah, lots going on, lots to be getting stuck into, to be promoting. And also, don't forget, as you are, we're still producing lots of great albums, got lots in the diary coming up for the end of the year and into next year as well. So yeah, we're going to have a podcast talking about some of the up and coming bands that we have been working with that we think are going to be big next year. We'll do a little podcast on them, and we'll maybe have a couple of them on with us to talk about what it's like working with Brino and John and what kind of help they've got and how it's progressing for them. Look out for that podcast in the near future. Some of the early subscribers, the early birds are in there. We'll get them on as well, talking about it. So you'll get to learn a whole lot more about what Session Recall is. Keep you updated, obviously, on when the book's coming out and the label.
So if you want to find out more information, head over to sessionrecall.com.
Go, Chard.
So head over to sessionrecall.com. What? It's from Britpop.
For those who don't know, this is an
now.
SNJ production, by the way. We can't reveal what SNJ's production is, can we?
I just forgot about that. No, we can't actually.
No, not if we want to be cancelled. Right, go, John. Wrap it up.
Right.
Or have we wrapped it up already? We've wrapped it up. There's no need to wrap it up. It's wrapped up.
Let's just leave it as a car crash. Leave all of this in and just see what happens. If you want to find out more, sessionrecall.com. There'll be a sign up sheet, sign up form for you to register interest, and there's a free guide to download at sessionrecall.com/band checklist. And that, just as I said earlier on, is just to give a bit of information about where to start from there. Until next time, we'll see you all again on the next podcast.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.